Okay, attention everybody. Good morning, good morning. Let's all settle in. All right, I'd like to call to order our 2025 annual meeting. We'll welcome all of our voting members and all of you that are not. We're glad to have you here. So we'll start off today with an opening prayer from Reverend Linda.
So we just take another moment to just pause and again bring our whole selves into this moment in time, letting go of all of the other activities that we've been engaged in these last few moments, and just allow ourselves to be present and to be open to this annual meeting. We're grateful for all of the people who have engaged with this community in a sense of ownership as voting members, and all who are a part of this community at whatever level that they are engaging with us. And we just know that we will be divinely guided and supported and enlivened through this time together. And so it is, and so we allow it to be. Amen.
So the secretary has informed me that of the 61 voting members, we do have a quorum of 25%, which is 16 voting members or more. So we will start with our secretary, Madeline Lozito, as she reads last year's minutes.
The minutes of Center of Unity Annual Membership Meeting, January 2024. Call to order. President Matt Sweat stated that the secretary has, excuse me, I forgot my glasses.
And we start again.
Okay. Hi. All right. President Matt Sweat stated that the secretary informed him that of the 65 voting members, we have a quorum of over 25%, or more than 32 members in attendance at this annual meeting. The opening prayer was by Reverend Linda Taylor. Opening remarks and welcome. President Matt Sweat welcomed all attendees. Secretary's report, Phyllis Landvit, read last year's minutes from January 22, 2023 annual meeting, and the minutes were approved as read. Treasurer's report. Kenny Green highlighted the fund balance and noted some exceptions to our normal expenses, such as loans for new ACs, etc. Then he reviewed the 2024 financial vision. The minister's report by Reverend Linda. The minutes will be part-time. Minister will be part-time effective on 1/24/24. 2, several spirit groups will be held throughout the year. 3, financial vision of income and expenses was reviewed. 4, review of various classes, some facilitated by LUTs. 5, review of outreach programs. Then we had election of board members. President Matt Sweat read from section 4.04 of the bylaws. Matt called upon Susan Spradlin, who explained the nominating committee process and read the board candidate bios, along with nominating committee member Elaine Murphy. Matt Sweat asked for other nominations. There being none, Debbie Holt made a motion to accept nominees by acclamation, and Ganera Burgess seconded. Lori and June were unanimously accepted as new board members. Matt Sweat then introduced the new board. Lori Elhart, Norma Crawford, June Brookshire, Matt Sweat, Madeline Locido, and Barbara Luders. The election of nominating committee members. Kenny Green nominated Jeff Holland as chairperson of the nominating committee. Elaine Murphy moved to accept. PJ Pugh, seconded. Motion approved. Debbie Holt nominated Jessica Lantis as an alternate. Debbie then moved, and Janera Burgess seconded. Motion approved. Bylaw vote. Matt read the bylaws change. Section 3.05, meetings and quorum. All meetings involving participation of the voting members shall be conducted simultaneously, electronically, and at the actual meeting location. Voting members joining electronically shall have the same voting privileges as those joining and voting at the actual meeting location. Electronic votes shall be monitored and counted by two individuals approved by the minister and the board of the directors. Vote to accept by acclamation was approved. Mary Salerno called upon Kenny Green and Phyllis Lambert and thanked them for their service. Matt Sweat opened the floor for Q&A, after which Reverend Linda led closing prayer, and the meeting was adjourned at 12:59 p.m.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you very much. All right. Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes from last year? Anyone like to bring up?
I'm sure it's high in your mind exactly what was
Exactly. Okay, if not, then we will approve last year's minutes as they were read by Maddie. Okay. Now, let's move on to the treasurer's report by Norma Crawford.
Thank you. Financially, 2024 was both a year of challenges and abundant blessings, and we ended 2024 debt-free. I love saying that. We were challenged to return to the high-risk insurance market to purchase property insurance, and we did that. We were challenged beginning the year in debt from the previous year due to the cost of replacing several air conditioners and the cost of the high-risk insurance. Beyond those conditions, we were very blessed to see an increase in community giving. Montessori School, the added Mind, Body, Spirit Fest event, the earned retention credit, and your generous support of our campaign to pay off the line of credit, which we did. Thank you. We adjusted the vision of our income next year in the awareness that some of what we received this year was extraordinary. But who's to say we won't receive something similar this coming year? We have budgeted to replace one air conditioner, and the upcoming foundation repair is covered. We ask for your prayers to find a more reasonable property insurance, and we've anticipated some reduction from this past year's highest cost. And we also ask your support in a very successful Body, Mind, Spirit Fest coming up on March the 8th. A significant fundraiser to help with our expenses. And our fund balances are in a really good place, and we are debt-free. Okay. The general fund has $2,266. The reserve fund has $22,120, and that's enough to cover what we know that's coming up. Bookstore fund is $1,367. Building fund, $575. Line of credit is now 0. Do I have another one?
No, that's it.
That's it? Oh, good.
Does anyone have any specific questions about the numbers? There was some copies of the detail one. The one that you were sent is still pretty accurate, although we just updated the actual numbers once we got them last week. So for the year. Any other questions? Yes. So the government money went into a combination of the Tree of Life line of credit. I'm trying to look for mine to give you the exact wording. Where's my financials? So part of it went into the Strategic Building Fund loan repay line. So when you see the actuals of $71,812, part of the money went in there, and the other part went into reserve fund. That's $16,417, which was actually more than what we were expecting. So that's what's helped to bump up the reserve fund. Yes. Yes, we have a $100,000 line of credit always open with the bank.
Our next big expense we're looking at is our foundation.
Yes, we're working to try and get that scheduled right now, so it'll take some money back out of the reserve, but that's okay. We know there's enough. It all flows. Yes, Susan. And I'm going to try and repeat questions for people listening online. I have to remember that they aren't hearing you. So the renewal process for our property insurance, I believe it's June 1st is when it switches over. So we start looking about April. We start beating the bushes to see if we can't find someone that, beyond the high-risk market, that will now say yes to underwriting us.
And for those of you that weren't with us, the reason why that insurance is so high is because of the extensive roof repair that we had a few years back. So that put us in a really high-risk category. It's been a couple of years since then, so we're hoping and praying that that expense will lower, so that won't take as big of our budget. All right. Are there any other questions? Oh, Kenny? Thank you, Kenny.
Kenny's just given us a compliment, the board, for those of you who are watching on the live stream.
All right. So if there are there any other questions in regards to the financials? Okay. If not, we will be moving on to the minister's report, and Reverend Linda will be presenting that.
So at this annual meeting, what I wanted to do was not so much look back. That's oftentimes what we do, is a review of what we accomplished in the past year, but I want us to see where we are and how we're moving forward as far as this integral structure that we've been working on for several years to try and bring us into alignment with. And Nick, would you put that next slide up for me? This is going to be kind of small for you guys to read. I apologize. But let me just share with you, for those of you who don't have eagle-eye vision, phase 1 of this, and this is the program that I went through, and you've been hearing about it, and there's sort of a map of how you begin to shift culture and shift programs within the ministry. And so the first thing, phase one, is the evolutionary purpose statement, which we have in place. The next is the quantum living process, which Norma spoke to today. I've offered it several times. I did not do it last year, but I will have several opportunities this year. And we want, ideally, every member at some point to have gone through that. Even if you don't find that process, that practice, especially helpful for where you are right now, it will give us a common language. And you don't need it until the challenges arise, but it is something that I would hope that we all have that capacity and language to do, especially when we get to that place a few years down the road where the community is now having to come into alignment and agreement about the next minister pick. And oftentimes when you go through big times of change, there will be challenge that accompanies it. So just a way that we can all work together and work through whatever buttons might get pushed in the process. And we also have spirit groups, which is something we've been doing for a number of years, long before this. So the phase two, which is kind of where we're at right now and moving into phase three. Phase two is doing Sunday updates so that we keep the community aware of what's going on behind the scenes, things that you wouldn't hear about it through announcements. We're doing that now with the Minister Evolutionary Update, a board update once a month, a community update, and transformational stories. The transformational stories, just so you understand, is a way that we can begin to measure how well are we meeting our purpose? How are we fulfilling our mission? You know, they're all wonderful things to have. It's great if everybody can say, yeah, this is what our mission and our purpose is. But how do you know? How do you know if you're actually expressing that, if people are engaged in that? And one of the ways to do that is, if it's transforming lives, is hearing from people who have had their lives transformed as a result of these principles and practices. So we're doing that already, and we are just in the process, in the infancy stages of this integral membership system. I'm going to speak to that just a little bit more here in a moment, along with the welcoming system and spiritual cooperative. So I'm going to speak to those in more detail, but I just want to kind of give you a vision for where we're moving into later this year and in the following year. There is a geneogram activity that we will invite all of the community to be in. And it is both a combination of looking at where we've been in the long-term history, what some of those wins were, the things we were really proud of, what some of the challenges have been, and it's also a way to lead us into, as a community, where we're seeking to go collectively. So it's something that I hope I have somebody else come in and facilitate. I'd rather just be a part of it than be a facilitator of it. So we're working on that for probably the fall. Quantum living process for teams. So this is the quantum living process, but how do you do that when you're working as a collective, not just as an individual? So we're gonna look at exploring that and invite especially leadership into having that experience, and board leadership and development, which is an ongoing thing we've been doing for several years now. And then ultimately we're gonna get to, if not this year, sometime next year, creating this evolutionary council made up of members of the community. They will be facilitating conscious conversations with everyone we can within our community to get a real pulse for where we're at and what's being desired and where we're growing into as a community moving forward. And then that Evolutionary Council will also be involved in this process called Mapping What Is based on those conversations. So it's a whole process to take all of that input and then try and distill it down into what represents the whole in the best way. All right, I'm gonna just give you a little bit more if you'll hang with me. So we are just beginning this integral membership system, and Nick, could you do the next slide for me, please? And the integral membership system is really a two-process system now. It used to be you could come to a membership class and you You were there for a couple hours, and then now you're a full voting member. And we're trying to work with people who are newer to our system, and this is only for people coming in. Anybody who is a voting member now will always be a voting member. There's nothing else required. But this is, as people are coming into our community, we want to focus that first year when they say, yeah, I want to be a part of this community. As a community member, we want to focus on supporting them in really being able to have this transformational experience and being able to receive all that we have to offer here. And then once they've completed that, they would move to the second part. Here they call it a governing voting member. We're just probably going to say voting member. It's the same, where they would now step into ownership. In fact, membership now is going to, in many ways, equate ownership. As we flatten this organization out, as the membership has more and more opportunities and input and voting power and guidance about where this community is going in the future, we want to have people who have they've received all that they need to do in order to step into that. So let me go to the next slide. I'm going to just talk about this a little bit more. So qualifications for community membership. When somebody says, yes, I want to explore, that would be their first phase. And as a community member, when someone says yes, they are making a commitment to their own spiritual journey. And that is, they're making a commitment to attend a class, a spirit group, a workshop, something beyond Sunday services where they're going to go deeper than just the short message that gets offered. Although I know people get a lot out of that too. We really want them to also, in this way, begin to connect in with others in our community. And it's hard to do that on a Sunday morning. So to continue their own spiritual development, wherever they might be coming to us from, to be involved throughout the year in some kind of meaningful giving of their time and their talents. It doesn't have to be within our community, and it doesn't have to be a long, I give so much every week. It is that realization that not only are we receiving, but we are also part of this making a positive difference in the world, the second half. And then we also have them say yes to some kind of, what we're trying to move to is automatic financial giving. And we don't ask for you to give any more than what feels comfortable for you, but we're asking people as they come into our community to be willing to do that automatically so that they give X amount consistently every month. It helps us know what we can count on when we're trying to, we create visions and budgets, but, we're also very constrained by the monies that we receive on a regular Sunday basis in addition to some of the other streams of income. So it's good to know, or at least have an inkling of what we're working with. And then as they've completed those, they will be offered an opportunity to step in as a governing or a voting member. And it's usually, we give a year to do that. They could take longer if they wanted to. And if they're ready to say yes to that, then we will ask them, go to the next one, Nick. We will ask them to be willing to say yes to, at some point, taking the quantum living process. So again, we want to have a common language amongst everyone of all the owners of our community, and step into even a greater level of meaningful involvement somewhere in here. That it is a requirement to be a voting member to serve on the board or on the care team. Those are about the only two things that will require it. So it doesn't mean that you're going to step onto the board or to the care team. That we're not asking people to be necessarily willing to do that, but to have some kind of time during the year where they give to this community. For some, it might be just on these one-time projects because of their schedules. Others, it might be on a Sunday service. Others, it might be helping to facilitate spirit groups. So there's a long and short variety of ways in which you can become involved. And then the final thing is we introduce what we're calling the cooperative share. And this is kind of a shift from what we have experienced here in the past, and I want to share a little bit more about that. So the cooperative share is a way of letting people know in a financial structure what it looks like, where we're at right now, to meet and or exceed the current vision that we have collectively said yes to as a community. And right now, I'm using, if you notice, it says $205,000, and this is really the Sunday contribution portion. We know we've got other streams of incomes that come in through the Montessori school, that come in through some of the other events we have. And right now, we have 92 people, so you don't have to be a voting member to give to this church. We have 92 people who consistently give every month. And that's the key to this, is who are consistently giving, who have made it, who said, I'm going to give X amount, and they give that amount. Interestingly enough, you can say, well, I don't think we've had 92 people. I would say there's probably close to a dozen who are committed givers to this church every month who no longer attend this church. But it has such an important part of their spiritual journey and life, whether they've moved away, whether they've moved on, they are still committed to give financially to this community because they want others to have that same opportunity. So with this current configuration, what the cooperative share would be, for if each one of those people were to give an equal amount, it's $185 a month. Now, we recognize that some people won't have the financial capacity, at least at this moment in their lives, whether it's that they're retired and on a fixed income, or whether they are in process of jobs that they are currently receiving a lot of their streams of income from. So, and we also recognize that there are many in this community who are tithers. And if you're given 10% of your income, you will, I guarantee you, just about everybody will already be exceeding that. And that's a spiritual practice, and we will continue to invite people to work with that as a spiritual practice. I've been doing it for decades, and I won't change that. So we know people will be able to give more than that. We know some people may not be able to meet that. And when we ask people to come in as, and they're being brought in as an owner, as a voting member, we just say we just encourage you to get as close to that as you can if you can't be in that space right now. And knowing that it's going to balance out by others who have blessings in which they feel moved to share with our community at a much greater rate than that per month. Does that make sense? So here's where and each year at the annual meeting, we're going to be looking at this and seeing where we are in this process. But Nick, if you'll go to this next slide, this is kind of where we're at right now, with a goal ultimately of having 100% of our operating expenses flow to us each month automatically. Doesn't matter whether there's snow days, doesn't matter whether you're out of town for a month, it doesn't matter. Attendance doesn't really necessarily become the factor in what we're going to receive. But if we can get to the place where we're all giving automatically, and what I mean by automatically is, yes, you can give through your credit card, through your bank account, through Venmo, through bill pay, those kinds of things that happen automatically. But there are some people who still like to give a check in our community, but they give that check every single month. That's also what we would consider to be an automatic giving. It's not saying it has to be done online, but it means that it gets done consistently. And so right now, 58% of our community gives through some kind of electric form or a very consistent giving each month through the form of a check. 70% of what we're receiving automatically meets this operating amount that we're looking at right now, and 28% right now are meeting or exceeding the cooperative share. So we know we still have a ways to go in all of those arenas, and we're just asking you to look at where you're at right now, and if you're already given that. But this is not a requirement. It's just the goal of where we're going, because I want you to hold this vision with me. What if on Sunday mornings we came in, we had our worship service, we do our offering, but everything that was collected in that basket, the community gets to determine, because it's just over and above. We are already receiving 100% of what we need to operate this building in the community, and the rest becomes an adventure of how we can make that positive difference in the world, and we don't have to worry about how we're going to pay our bills. So that's part of the process that we're looking at evolving into. It's not going to happen this year. It's not probably going to happen for several years, but it is the cultural shift we're looking to make as new people come in to hopefully say yes and want to become part of the ownership of this community. All right, questions about that? I know I've said a lot, and you'll hear more. This won't be the first time, but it's kind of and you've probably heard pieces of it. They're all in shock, like. Sure, Michael. That is individuals. It is individuals, yes. Any other questions? And if you have more at the end, if you're still processing all this and something pops up, we'll have a Q&A opportunity at the end of our time together.
I'd like to seize on two of the last words that Reverend Linda spoke, which is cultural shift. And I just want to give you praise, Reverend Linda. You guys don't know how much research, extracurricular education, so much that she's looked into in terms of sustainability. All of the statistics are showing that traditional church attendance is in decline. And we are looking at a long-term vision to keep Center of Unity sustainable, and not only sustainable, but to be able to grow, to be able to stand on our 2 feet, but also to be able to use additional resources to make that vision a reality of what we're trying to do. I'll just interject a quick joke here. There's a minister at a Easter service. There's a minister standing at the door. He's greeting the members as they all came in. And one of the members came up to him, and the minister said, "Hey, brother, great to see you here. Doesn't seem like I really see you, though, except on Christmas and Sundays. Christmas and Easter. The Lord calls us to serve in the army of the Lord." And the member says, "Oh, yes, I know. I've been in the Secret Service." Now, point being is that, that's fine. We live in a world where you can attend virtually, but we want to add value to what we're doing here. Value and investment in this membership model that Reverend Linda has come up with, not out of a whim, but through much research and through much effort, does point a way through to a long-term sustainable growth for us. With that being said, we'll be moving on to new business, which is the election of board members. So I'll briefly read from section 4.04A of our bylaws, which highlights the qualifications of a board member. Any person elected to the board of directors must be an active voting member of Unity Church of Northeast Tarrant County, which yes, AKA Center of Unity, for a minimum of 1 year. At the time of the approval of these bylaws, the current board members are exempt. He or she shall be a person who desires to serve on the board, 2, endeavors to live in accord with the Jesus Christ principles of love and truth as taught by Unity, 3, furthers the work of the ministry through an act of interest, love, and support as shown by faithful attendance at services and other activities of the ministry. 4, is a sincere and continuing student of unity, evidenced by attendance and participation at classes and being conversant with its teachings. And 5, has demonstrated leadership capabilities and is willing to serve as an example for membership. With that being said, I will present Debbie Holt, who is the chairperson of our nominating committee.
In our bylaws, section B, I guess, nominating committee. A nominating committee shall be formed at least 3 months prior to the annual membership meeting and shall initiate a search for at least 2 qualified candidates for the board of directors. The committee shall consist of the minister and 3 members selected in the following manner. At the annual membership meeting, the membership shall elect one of its members and an alternate to serve on the nominating committee for the next year's election. Jeff Holland and Jessica Landis are the alternates for this year.
Jeff was elected last year.
Yes. Yes. The board of directors, yeah, that's what I meant. The board of directors shall elect one of its directors, and that was June Brookshire for this election. Number 3, together with the minister, the above 2 committee members shall select a 3rd committee member, which was me, from the membership who shall become the chair of the nominating committee. In the event a member and the alternate member of the nominating committee is unable to serve, the board shall select a person from the membership to fill the vacancy. The vacancy shall not be filled by a current board member. So I will introduce our first nominee for this year's election, and that's Diane Diven. And Diane, would you please stand for us so everybody will know who you are and your face? She's back there. Thank you, Diane. I will read a little bit about her. Diane has attended Unity churches for over 40 years, including many years of attendance at Center of Unity. She became a member here in the spring of 2024 and brings with her a variety of volunteer experiences. Among her volunteer activities, Diane has been a big sister with the big sister with the Big Brother and Sister organization and has fostered dogs in need of homes. Currently, she serves as a board president for a nonprofit she's been affiliated with for 35 years and has served on various boards for nonprofits that focus on dogs for almost as long. At COU, Diane has helped set up the birthday banquet, taken part in church cleanup day, and has assisted with food for some of our events. Diane feels that Center of Unity and all Unity churches should be a place where anyone can come and be accepted for the human being and creation of God that they are. She admires that the path that Center of Unity is on and looks forward to seeing what the ever-changing landscape brings to us as we grow and become more community-focused. Diane has achieved in her long career at a major Dallas-based corporation, achieved management skills, training, and position. She had a love and respect for positive thought and areas of strength for Diane feels will benefit our community and our board. And says, Diane, Unity principles are my spiritual guide and have been for 40 years. Her focus with other boards she served on has been to help the organization grow while being respectful of members' differing opinions. During leisure time, Diane enjoys spending time with her husband, Rory, their beautiful Saluki dogs, entertaining, and worldwide travel. Thank you, Diane.
All right, and I'm going to be introducing Madeline Lacito, who is currently serving on the board, which will be coming off the board, but is asked to be put as a nominee. So Madeline Lacito has been attending Center of Unity for 23 years and has been a member for over 16 years. Maddie as she is affectionately known, has been a choir member since she started attending. In addition, she has served on the care team since becoming a member, was on the finance committee, hosted Sunday meet and greet during COVID, and was a member of the security team as well. Currently, Maddie is also serving on the board as secretary. Maddie finds being a care team member is her most rewarding volunteer position. She loves to pray with people and help them affirm their good and affirm it for them when they cannot. As a choir member, her love of singing shows up as she happily lends her voice when the group is in session. In addition, she has already served on the board for 3 years. Maddie feels that her knowledge of the church and its goals, investment in our success, along with her honest opinion and desire for fair decisions that benefit all of our people, qualify her to be a fair and unbiased board member for her second term. Additionally, as secretary, she has gained additional knowledge and has been instrumental in keeping a record of board meetings as well as what's going on in the church community. She believes that the Center of Unity should be and is a welcoming and non-judgmental entity that teaches love and the Christ light. Maddie is willing to serve on the board in any capacity that has the most need. She says of Unity, "It has teachings I believe in and is filled with loving and like-minded people. It is community to me."
Well, I'm June Brookshire, current member of the board, and I'm going to be introducing Grant Trevithick. Could you stand up for a minute, Grant, so we can see who you are? Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Grant has been a student of New Thought for over 35 years and has attended Center of Unity for over 2 years, becoming a member in the summer of 2023. Having led a spirit group and as a member of the care team, Grant believes serving in any capacity not only helps others, but offers the sense of fulfillment and purpose that serving brings. Grant has volunteered in other New Thought churches in various capacities throughout the past 3 decades and believes these experiences, combined with his service at COU, have given him a good overview as well as in-depth look at how churches are served by their people and how they serve their people. He feels these experiences will help him give insight into how to grow the community. Grant's years in New Thought as well as corporate America have aided in forming his vision for church growth and collaboration with the spiritual community, other board members, and the minister to design and implement short and long-term goals based on the collective vision of all involved parties. Grant also believes that the traditional church model needs to be expanded to include services designed for younger families, those seeking to learn more about Unity principles, and various other communities who embrace our message and principles. And as an ending, here is the quote from Grant about what Unity means to him. "Unity has taught me to take absolute responsibility in my life, claiming the power to create the life that I most desire. Unity provides me with access to discover my innate divinity and share that with others. Unity has taught me that God is always in me, as me, and should always look inward. I should always look inward to find my answers, to find my happiness, and to find and express my passion and purpose." Thank you. Thank you, Grant.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. With that being said, I'll be making a call for a vote by ballot. Those that are voting via Zoom this year for the first time, I ask for you to sign into the Zoom vote room in order to cast your ballot. Keep in mind, we will be voting for 2 new board members. I apologize. Yes, we did fail to mention that at this point, nominations from the floor are available. If someone would like to do a write-in for someone that wasn't presented today. And there are spaces on the ballot to write in alternate names.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. Sorry for those of you online. We were having some, we're trying to be official and follow parliamentary procedure, and we're only semi-good at that. It's not our main thing, but we're working on it. They're already back in the Zoom room. I hope. This is the first time we're doing it. And in order to get a ballot, we have to make sure we check them in. We can't just be passing them out because they have to be verified as a voting member. So, okay. Oh, are you looking for any more? Is that what you're looking for? All right, anybody who has not turned their ballot in. Gotcha. All right, so I think that we're going to move on while they're counting the votes to the next part, which is the nominating for next year's nominating team.
All right. Okay. So we, at this point, for next year's board member nominating committee, we will be accepting nominations. We will be accepting nominations. Kenny Green. Kenny Green nominates Lisa Thorne.
Will you accept?
Okay, Lisa Thorne nods in acceptance. She will accept. We'll also be looking for another nominating or an alternative.
An alternate. So let's wait before we do that and see if there's any other.
Yes.
Yeah, we also have an alternate, but any other nominations? All right, so let's vote
Going
on
once,
this
going
one.
twice. Okay. And that will be a vote by hand.
Yes, we'll just do a vote by acclamation. So Lisa Thorne has been nominated to serve on our nominating team next year, or this year.
Yes, so all of those in favor of Lisa Thorne serving on the committee, say aye. Raise your hands.
Aye.
All right, that looks like an
Any
overwhelming
opposed?
majority, but are there any opposed? There are none opposed. All right, so Lisa, congratulations. You are the new member of our nominating committee.
And now we'll look for an alternate too.
Yes, and at this point, we will receive nominations for an alternate. Would anyone like to make a nomination? Oh, okay, Jonetta.
I love that. Janetta.
All right.
Johnetta.
Janetta.
Johnetta.
Johnetta, all right, nominates herself. All right, are there any other nominations? Okay, all of those in favor of, oh, I'm sorry, Maddie? No. Oh, you're
She's
voting
voting.
for her. Okay,
She's
just
voting.
making sure.
Everybody in favor.
Okay. Are there any opposed? All right, by overwhelming majority, welcome as our alternate member to the nominating committee. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're waiting for a moment on the votes. They're being counted. So in the meantime, let's go to Q&A to see what else might be coming up And then as soon as they're counted, as soon as we see them come in, we'll share the results with you.
Okay. So yes, are there any questions so far in regards to our meeting? Mr. Kenny Green?
Well, I'll tell you, we've only had one person go through as a community. Like I said, we're just starting this. We are having one in a couple of weeks, so I'm hoping that we'll have more being willing to go through that. But my experience was, it was like, I'm already doing all that. Okay, and off they go. So I think that it's pretty easy to say yes. I mean, you can, if you say, by attending a spirit group, you've met qualification 1 and qualification 2. And I would say most people, by the time they're getting to that space where they feel like this is something that I really would like to be in more formal membership with, they're already usually giving at that level too. So none of it, it's not a hard ask to step into the community member, and it's not that much further to go once you've had some time with us to step in as a voting member. Well, so there's members is defined in different ways because we have voting members, and those are people who annually have filled out their re-verification card. So our bylaws say every year you have to say yes again to being an active voting member. We have many others that are non-voting members. They are, for whatever reason, sometimes it's an oversight, sometimes it's because they're engaged in other ways, that are non-members. So I think we had 69 active voting members, which is people who filled out the re-verification card. As far as non-members go, I haven't done a count, but I'm guessing it's somewhere around 150. Now, how many of those are, you know, active in our community, but they just didn't fill out a card? We'd have to go back and do a little bit more analysis. I will say this, we have many people who are deeply engaged with this in this community that have never become members. As you heard, I think Madeline, she was here for 7, 8, 10 years before she ever said yes to formal membership. And she said the only reason I did it then is because she had to be a voting member in order to serve on the care team, and that's where she wanted to go. So we have many more engaged people who aren't necessarily have said yes to formal membership. So it's hard, it's a moving target to tell you if we're looking at, does that really signify how active, you know, what our average attendance is on a Sunday. And it's more difficult to even measure that because now we have Facebook and YouTube also. So it's hard to give definitive numbers, but that's the best I can come up with at this moment. Yes. Yes. So my plan is to offer one likely either around the spirit group times, but it will be kind of in a spirit group format, but it is a class, or over the summer months I will do one, and then I hope to do another one in the fall. I'm also, I'm having to rein myself in a little bit because I'm finding so many amazing things that I get interested in, and then there's only one of me to do. The other thing I will share with you that's going to be coming up soon, this spring for sure, I'm in the training right now, is something called We Space groups. And a We Space, kind of think of contemplative prayer, but with a real different focus. It is an opportunity to practice what they call resonating prayer. It's really about whole body mystical awakening, using all the parts of our being to be engaged. And then there's also a process where you really learn to kind of connect with the divine and sort of share that and see that with other people. It's a really transformative experience, and I've been in a group and now I'm being trained to be a guide in one of those groups. It comes out of the Integral Christian Network, which I've mentioned before. And so this is something that's been around for many years, and this is a very central component of what they offer. So they're also moving the greater Christian movement to this more integral practice and community structure that beyond just new thought. So look for it probably, it's late spring, it's going to be after Easter when we do spirit groups, and then probably again in the fall. It is a 6-week process. And it is a lot of learning the first 3 weeks, and then it's a lot of you doing and exploring the final 3 weeks. And I'm going to say we've had close to 30 people go through it. All of the leadership that has been working with me has gone through it, and the staff, and now and those who went through my Disciples program went through it as part of that program. And I've offered a couple of times over the last few years to the greater community too, but we'll be doing more of that.
They're currently in the process of counting ballots right now.
Do we have anything else we can do? Oh, but Mary, yeah.
Barbara's in there too.
Oh, well, okay. Say again? Well, that's what we were just saying. One of the things we were going to be doing today is recognizing Barbara Luters, who is stepping off the board after her 3-year service. But Mary was scheduled to do that, and her and Barbara are both back there counting. So it's kind of hard to do that at the moment. I will tell you, just for your own awareness, when you serve on the board, it is a 3-year term, and the most you can do is 6 years without having to step away. So it's not a perpetual. I would say few people say yes to another 3 years, and so I'm grateful Matt did, and Maddie is willing to do that. So we have 2 people that typically roll off every 3 years, unless we have a board member that runs and continues to serve for another 3 years. Huh? If they're elected. Well, usually they have been, because it's not like people are beating our doors down. You have to understand with the nominate. We were very grateful that we had as many people who really were approaching us. We didn't have to go, and that's one of the things to know when you become, one more minute, I'm being told, okay? That's one of the things that people don't realize. You know, when you become a voting member, you might get on the list then for the nominating team to call you and say, would you be willing? Because it is an area of service, and it does require some level of commitment, depending upon where the state of the community is at the time that you're serving, sometimes more and sometimes less. And but it's a necessary and really vital part of the ongoing leadership and running of this particular community. All right. I feel like we should go do 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 do. Yes, Rory. It's possible, yes, which is why we aren't even going to address what cracking has already been happening until after it's done, and we'll probably give it a little time to settle in. So he's asking about the foundation reports, those of you watching us on live stream, or the foundation repairs. So yeah, at some point in time there will probably have to be, and how long, I don't know. I mean, I think that's one of the questions that once they know what they've done, that they'll be better, more precise in what they tell us. It's really 2 corners that they're going to be, and they're the opposite corners. I think, you know, maybe at the time they didn't realize this, but we've come to discover after that. When you have an L-shaped building like this, especially when they're not, one's wider than the other one, it will naturally put stress. So it's been that way since this building was built. There's been some small ones. And then my understanding is when we put this new roof structure on, the joists that we put on were bigger and thicker than what had been there before. So then all of a sudden the weight in this part of the building becomes much heavier, and it's caused even more shifting than what we've seen in the past. But there's always been a little bit of shifting happening here. It just wasn't enough to have to physically address it. All right. We do have some in the budget. We're looking at, I think it's $18,000 to put the 30 exterior foundational piers that we hired an engineer to come in and spec what needed to happen in order to bring the foundation into its best possible alignment. Yes, Grant? Correct. Correct. It will all be exterior piers that they're looking at installing, primarily in this corner over here, and the other corner, it's sort of its opposing corner in the other L of the building. I mean, we will probably have to do some repair, mortar refill after it finishes settling. The engineer told us it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Structurally, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. And yes, we had several bids come in. Yes, we always try and get several bids. We never just go with one. That's part of Mary's work. All right. Oh, okay. I think we're almost there. And please forgive us. This is our first year trying to do it on the Zoom. I'm imagining that was part of the challenge in this of figuring out how to get everybody in and make that accommodation. And we'll probably learn from it and maybe have to tweak it a little bit as we move forward.
If you don't mind, I would like to say how much I have enjoyed working with Reverend Linda this my first year on the board. And I know Matt said a lot of what I was thinking too, but about applauding her for working, learning ways to work with us as a church that's growing in so many different ways and expanding and become and transforming. Thank you so much, Reverend Linda.
And Mary, don't go anywhere because you got to present to Barbara.
All right. Okay, so before we announce the new board members, would we like to recognize our board member leaving today? Yes, before we announce our new board members, Mary is going to do a brief presentation to honor Barbara Luters and her time on our board as she's leaving this year.
Well, I'll come over there, okay? No, just to, excuse me, to recognize all you've done and being on the board for this. Barbara's been on for this past 3 years, and her sense of humor has lightened the mood so many times, and her thoughtful decisions, and she's just been a joy, a light, and we're sorry to see her go, but very happy. Oh yeah, vice president, yeah, she's been our vice president. So we'd just like to present you with a little gift.
Thank you, Ms. Vice President. Thank you. All right, so now we're down to the meat of it. So, yeah, see why it took so long for them to count. It was a very, very close count, very close margins. We did have 2 write-in nominations, but as of now, I will announce our 2 board members beginning this 2025 year. The first will be Diane Diven. Thank you. You're welcome. And then our final second board member will be Grant Trevific.
Now we have to all learn how to say his name.
Yes, and once again, Grant says terrific is fine. Okay, once again, it was very close, and we thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, you will. And, you know, Maddie has also been a joy. She's been our secretary. She's served for 3 years. She came on with Barbara and has really done an amazing job. Stepped up to, as I recall, that secretary position was kind of nobody wanted it, and it was challenging. And she did a great job. Great job. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Maddie's done a great job in everything that she's done here at Center of Unity in all the ways that she's volunteered. And it's been an honor serving with you. Absolutely. All right, so I will present our new board for this year, and that will consist of Matthew Sweat, Norma Crawford, Lori Elhart, June Brookshire, Diane Diven, and Grant Trevific. All new board members
And me.
stand. And Reverend
I get a
Linda.
vote.
Reverend Linda as well.
They're not paying attention.
All right, are there any questions before we adjourn our meeting? All right, so at this point, we ask for a closing prayer from Reverend Linda.
I was just going to say, is there someone else that feels called to close us in prayer? I always get them to stretch, but I'm willing to do it. All right. We just say thank you. Thank you for all of the blessings. Thank you for all of the beautiful lights. Thank you for all of the gifts and the talents and the love and the energy and the willingness to create this space for so many others who are seeking it. And we just know as we step into this new year that there are blessings beyond our imagination. There is growth that will encompass and express out from this community in ways never experienced before. And there are ways in which we are being called to step in and make a positive difference in our world. And for all of that, we simply say, thank you, God. Amen.
Thank you,
And thank you for being here and for your patience.
So our 2025 board meeting is now officially adjourned.
Take a microphone. I should have one more somewhere. A microphone.
I didn't really think I would be numbered.
Extremely close.
I thought I would get it.
Well,
Congratulations.